Thank you for tuning in, this is Bergens, and our topic today is Tabletop Roleplaying Games, aka TTRPGs. Today's topic is mainly going to be about running games as a game master or dungeon master for whatever game you would like to play, because this is just going to be general information. But I specifically play Cyberpunk RED, and I've been doing that lately for a while, and I have a server, West Marches setting, which I will be linking in the description down below after this discussion, and hopefully you'll be able to join us. The question I'd like to pose to dungeon masters, game masters, or GMs is, what is the point of your next game, the next thing you're going to run? Whether it's a one-shot gig, whether it's interconnected games, or if you're running a campaign. And in your mind, you're thinking, well, my players know what the goal is, they know what the next game is, we've already planned it. But always ask yourself, what mechanic do I want to introduce? What mechanic do I want the players to test out or experience? And what feeling do I want to convey? Now, of course, this also goes back to whether or not your players are veterans of the system, whether they already know the mechanics, whether some of them have GM'd in the past. And that's where you as a GM would excel, by crafting your own world, whether it is just by describing how things are in this world for the players, or implementing certain mechanics in a way that maybe they haven't thought about before, or they haven't experienced, even though they are veterans of the system, and they've already learned all of the mechanics that there are to be had in the system. To give an example of a situation where I was running a game for a bunch of players that were new to a system, I would consider how I could introduce a certain mechanic to them, and then how this mechanic would come into play later on for them to become more well-versed in it and be able to have a good handle on it. On the opposite side of that coin is the fact that you can also run games for players who are experienced in a system, or that are GMs themselves. And you could then try and create an experience of your own, not just based on mechanics, but in world building. And that point is very important. Because like I said at the very beginning, whenever you run a game, there has to be a reason. You have to be presenting something. So in world building is more important than just like, oh, roll a die, this is the number that you get, yeah, you succeed, moving on. Roll another die, this is the number you get, you succeed. It just becomes a boring, mundane dice rolling game. Yes, it is a game about rolling dice and achieving things, but give it a description, give it a reason, say something, even if it's just a tiny bit of flavor. You don't have to do it for every action that is done or taken, but it would be great to have a meaning behind something and flavor it in a certain way so that it makes sense. Because when it makes sense to the player, then it would be a lot easier to convey the mechanic of how that works, as opposed to having somebody not really get how that happened in-game, and then start questioning the mechanics, like, hey, no, that's not how this works, and issues arise, and the game slows down, and problems happen, and then players drop out. So, covering the mechanics aspect, the in-world reason, and drawing a picture, the last thing I do want to convey or discuss here is, do not railroad the players no matter what. And by that, I mean, even though there's always going to be a MacGuffin, something to do, something to get, someplace to meet, a person to see, etc., try to make it so that it makes sense in the world for players to choose their own route to achieving the goal that you have placed for them. Even if you didn't specifically plan for this route, at least have things pre-made, pre-generated, ready to go, as in things that are cohesive in the world that you've presented, that could fit into a spot where players would come across this hurdle, an event, encounter, NPC, person, etc. And in the end, have that come into play in their final goal, and their ultimate goal, their MacGuffin that you initially set them out to achieve or reach. And that was our talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it and benefited something. For the next one, I will be doing specifically Cyberpunk RED and how to balance things, how to create encounters that are beneficial or fruitful, and how to balance your encounters for combat and take account time, how long your combat lasts. If you have any feedback, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. Subscribe for more content, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and welcome to our Discord server. It'll be linked in the description. We play Cyberpunk RED, and we are open to everybody.